January 2020, a statement lands that shocks the world. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announce they are stepping back as senior members of the royal family. But behind the headlines, behind the cameras, behind the palace walls, there is one man who has watched this family for over 4 decades. A man who has photographed Harry from the very beginning. A man who has seen the laughter, the grief, the growth, and now, the goodbye. He has spent more time around the royal family than most people inside it. This is his story, his truth, his perspective. When the news broke, my honest reaction was I was shocked, but I wasn't surprised. And that might sound strange, but if you had been watching closely, the signs were already there. When baby Archie was born, they chose not to give him a royal title. No prince, nothing, just Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. And I thought that's a deliberate decision. That tells you something about where their heads are. Then they spent 6 weeks in Canada over Christmas. Total silence. No photographs, no stories, nothing came out of that place. When I checked with my editor, he said the same thing, we've got nothing. And that's when I realized they were already testing something, working out a system, living quietly, away from all of it. The South Africa tour of October 2019 had been called one of their most successful. Meghan worked with women's organizations. Harry walked through minefields, the same paths his mother, Princess Diana, had once walked. The world was watching. The crowds were warm. And then, at the very end of that tour, Harry announced he was suing a British newspaper. That was the moment everything went flat. You had this incredible, emotional, powerful tour, and then that announcement. It sent the whole mood downhill. You cannot behave like that. You build something beautiful and then you poison it yourself. The Harry I knew before all of this was the most enjoyable royal to work with. Full stop. I've been on tour with every senior royal, but Harry, you could never take a day off because something would happen, something that would make the front page the next morning. He'd be racing Usain Bolt. He'd be in Bob Marley's back room. He'd be on Copacabana Beach playing rugby with children. He'd be in a hospital in Barbados making sick kids laugh. And after a long tour, he'd take all the media out to the pub, the whole team, and he'd pay the bill. That was Harry. And then he changed. I don't say that lightly. I say that because I watched it happen. The same man who used to be full of life and warmth became, I have to be honest, unhappy, difficult, withdrawn. There is only one common denominator in that change, and that is the moment he got married. The wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle was watched by 29 million people in the UK alone. Windsor was packed. The atmosphere was electric. Meghan's first year in the royal family was remarkable. Edinburgh, Dublin, Wales. The crowds turned out in their thousands. People loved her. She would stop and take selfies, sign autographs. Sometimes the prince would be waiting for her because she spent so much time with the people. She was a genuine asset. Arthur Edwards himself went on television and said exactly that. I told people she is a great asset to this country, a great ambassador, and I believed that. She was brilliant, engaging, beautiful, articulate. But something changed after Archie was born. The mood shifted. Things became controlled, private. We were told the baby was born at home, and then days later we found out he was born in a hospital. With William and Catherine, they came out the front of the hospital. They showed us the baby. They exchanged a few words, and that was that normal, warm human. With Harry and Meghan, we got a photograph a few days later, carefully timed, carefully managed, and it started to feel like they don't want to be part of this. They want the benefits, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. In Britain, the royal press Rota is a long-standing arrangement. A photographer and reporter are assigned to cover royal engagements. They travel with the royals. They share their images and stories with the wider press pool. It ensures fair and broad coverage, and it has worked for generations. Harry and Meghan wanted no part of it. They said, "We don't want the Rota. We only want to work with journalists who write nice things about us. And I understand why someone might want that. But it simply does not work. It never has. Because stories will come to the papers regardless. And when those stories come, you will be held to account. If you take a private jet for a holiday and the same week you give a speech about saving the environment, and you have taken 4 of those flights in one summer, people will ask questions. And if that offends you, then maybe you are in the wrong business. Choosing Canada or America does not mean the cameras stop. It means you lose control of the narrative entirely. Nobody gets that access to the Queen. Nobody, but Harry did. That Invictus Games video where they went back and forth with President Obama, that was brilliant. That was Harry and his grandmother, real, genuine. Nobody scripted that. And the Queen loves him. She genuinely loves him. So when I think about how she must have felt when they announced this without telling her, without sitting down with her first, I find that very hard to accept. The Prince of Wales walked Meghan down the aisle when her own father couldn't be there. You cannot do more than that. He welcomed her. The Queen welcomed her. And yet here we are. Prince William, I remember those brothers wrestling each other, playing football, really going at each other, laughing. William used to talk about Harry with this pride in his voice. They were incredibly close. And the fact that they no longer have that relationship, I think that is one of the saddest parts of all of this. Princess Diana died in 1997. Harry was 12 years old. He has carried that loss his entire life, publicly, quietly always. During the South Africa tour, Harry walked through the minefields his mother had once walked. It was a powerful, silent tribute. No words needed. When Diana was under intense pressure in the early days of her relationship with Dodi, she once said to a group of us, William had suggested she go and live in America. So it had been in her thoughts, but she didn't do it, because she understood that leaving would not make it stop. The media is not what it was in Diana's time. In those days it was hostile, aggressive. You'd see paparazzi everywhere. When did you last see a paparazzi photo of William and Catherine? When did you last see one of Harry and Meghan? You don't. It stopped. Times changed. The criticism Harry and Meghan faced was real. Some of it was unfair, I accept that. But Prince Charles faced far worse after his divorce from Diana. He didn't run to America. He didn't hide. He stood there and said, history will judge me. And it has. His approval ratings are soaring now because he stayed, because he faced it. I think they went to Canada and she saw her old friends, her agents. And those agents painted a very bright picture of how much money they could earn in America. And I think that's what convinced them. The life they imagined, the freedom, the money, the admiration, without the scrutiny. But I think that's naive. The scrutiny will follow, it always does. What worries me most is what Harry will miss. He won't be on the balcony at Trooping the Color. He won't be at the Remembrance Sunday service with the nation. And if he thinks he can just pop in and out when it suits him, I don't think that will be accepted. You cannot have it both ways. You are either in or you are out. People forget, or maybe they don't know, what Harry has actually done. He went to war twice. He went to Afghanistan and fought. That is something very few people in his position have ever done. And when he came back, he didn't rest. He built the Invictus Games, and now it is a national event. It honors injured servicemen and women. It gives them dignity and purpose. I went with him to Lesotho. I remember a night school you could barely see in the room, it was so packed. Young boys, some of them teenagers, crammed in to learn how to read and write. And Harry had set that up. He was 22, 23 years old, and he was so proud, so genuinely proud. That was the Harry I knew, a young man who kept pushing to help others, and now he can't wait to leave. Someone told me, well, he loves his wife and he wants to make her happy. I understand that. I love my wife too, but she didn't stop me doing the work I loved, the work that was my life. Harry seems to believe that if he goes to America, the criticism will stop. The bad publicity will disappear. He will never be held to account again. I think that is living in cloud cuckoo land. If I could say one thing to Harry right now, I'd say go. If that's what you need, go and find out, but come back, work something out, because you have a role to play here that nobody else can play. He is well liked, genuinely loved, even when he wore the wrong thing to a costume party, even when the photos in Las Vegas came out. People forgave him because they love him, because they know who he is underneath all of it. And I genuinely hope, that within a year, maybe two, he will look around and feel that pull. The nephews and nieces he is missing, his grandmother getting older, his brother on the other side of a silence that never needed to happen. Because the Harry I photographed, the one who raced Olympic athletes and danced in back rooms and made sick children laugh, that Harry was a gift to this country, to this family, to all of us who got to watch him. And I will miss him very much.